Welcome to the Kick Sugar Coach podcast. Join me each week as I interview experts who will share the science of sugar, sugar addiction, and different approaches to recovery. We hope to empower you with the information and inspiration, insights, and strategies you need to break up with sugar and fall in love with healthy whole foods so you can prevent and reverse chronic disease, lose weight, boost your mood and energy. Feel free to go to my website for details on my coaching programs and to access free resources, kicksugarcoach.com. Welcome, everybody, to an interview today with Michelle Petties. I will read you her bio, but I just wanted to let you know I discovered her TEDx talk, which was one of the best TEDx talks I have ever seen in my whole life. It is so good. And I'm like, I need to know this woman and I need to interview her. So thankfully, Michelle agreed. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a food story coach and an emotional eating expert who gives voice to what happens at the intersection of food, feelings, and everyday life. She's a recovering food addict, and she explores how memories, emotion, and culture, not hunger, shapes our eating behaviors. Her award-winning memoir called Leaving Large, The Stories of a Food Addict, which is holding up for you. I have a copy somewhere, but I couldn't find it. Thank you, Michelle. It's not a weight loss book. It's not even well, it is a food recovery book, but it's really about reckoning with the past and moving forward onto a path towards healing and wholeness. Michelle is a sought-after speaker, workshop facilitator, and leads people through a transformational process that involves healing through reading, writing, and storytelling experiences that help participants do what she did, which is uncover their own food stories and reclaim their power. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Florence. I'm so excited to be here. I have been looking forward to this conversation for I don't know how long.
Awesome. We're really, really blessed to have you here, Michelle. I think I'd like to just give you a chance to let people know a little bit more about you, your own story of struggling with food and some of the transformations along the way.
Sure. I think, Florence, the biggest breakthrough happened for me, and I've had all sorts of breakthroughs since I've begun this really deep work on myself. But I think the biggest breakthrough that I had was when I realized that every extra pound, every extra bit of weight that I had on my body, I gained it in my head first. And I had to lose it the same way. And that was that notion was transformative for me. That it really was the stories, the thoughts, the beliefs, all the history around food that was trapped in my brain, trapped in my head, trapped in my heart, that was causing this manifestation of this extra weight. And once I was able to lean into that, it ended a 40-year struggle. It ended a 40-year struggle of losing 30 pounds, gaining 40, losing 40, gaining 50. Over the course of 40 years, from the time I was 20 until the time I was 60, that's 700 pounds of struggle. And yeah, I was like that when I sat down and did the math myself. But I was able to go through every low calorie diet that I went on and gain the weight back. Right? Every time I just muscled through it and struggled through it, and thought that was it. And 2 years later, I'm back to where I was and even beyond that, and not really having a fundamental understanding of food, eating, and hunger. That was it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell us more about that notion that all of the weight on your body was really a reflection of the stories and the beliefs in your mind. Like, how did you make that connection?
So, so here's what happened, right? I had been wrestling with this thing, and like I said, there were so many pivotal learning points along the way, but there was a point in this journey where I was losing weight, and part of it happened was because I ran into financial trouble, huge financial trouble when the recession of 2008 hit. I ended up losing my car. I ended up losing my job. I ended up losing everything really. And as a result of, losing my car, I had to start walking. And now when I look back on Florence, what I realized was that was a real tipping point for me. It was a real pivotal moment for me, because when I thought my life was falling apart because of all this good life stuff that I used to enjoy had slipped from my fingers, that was when I really had to lean into it. Gave me an opportunity to figure out what was important. The Mercedes was gone, the savings was gone, all the brunches every weekend was gone, all that stuff was gone. So I was just left with me. So I found myself walking every day because I had to, right? And then I looked up and my clothes were too big, right? And I'm like, well, and I had always struggled with my weight, and I'm like, well, what? It was the only thing was different was walking. I was like, oh my god, it's the walking, but I was hating the walking, was because walking represented the fact that that old life that I was so accustomed to was gone. But it was a real learning opportunity for me. So I leaned more into the walking, and I wanted to do more working out, but my my breasts were so big. They were in the way. And I had finally gotten a job. I had insurance. I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, okay, we can do a breast reduction for you. Right. Okay. So he did that, and that helped. And he said, we can do a tummy tuck. We can do some other stuff while we're in there. And I was broke. I didn't have any money, but then I had a windfall. Florence, I will tell you something. I was sitting there. I needed a roof. My house had paper on it, but I had this money, and I made a decision that I'm going to spend it, and I'm going to get this surgery. And that may not be what other people might have done, but it's what I did. I still had Tyvek paper on my house. But I took this money, I got the tummy tuck, and for the first time in decades, I was able to see what was possible for me, right? And that helped me lean into it, right? So I'm doing all these things, and I I'm going to a wellness doctor. And she says, I can help you with this. I can help you with that. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm good. And I get a little bit more liposuction, right? And that's working. I'm like, if I can just get this liposuction and I can get down to a 14, what I call a black woman's 10, I'll be good. I'm straight. Right? I'm straight. But then I felt the weight starting to come back on. And I was horrified. I'm like, how can this, what? I was at a conference and I ate 5 pieces of pizza in about 5 minutes, and I didn't understand what was going on. I got scared. I went to this doctor. This doctor said, here, I can help you. I can help you. I want you to follow this plan. If you follow this plan, you will not be hungry and you will lose weight. And I knew I could do it, Florence, because I had done it many times before. But what I had not been able to do was figure out how to stick to it. And in that office, I prayed. I just prayed, God, help me. I am missing something. Help me understand what I am missing, because I need to understand this, because I need to save my life. I can't do this. And so I'm following the plan. I'm going along. I'm losing weight. I'm doing good. And there came a time I remember this day so clearly. I was sitting in my house and I wanted to eat. And I had just eaten and I wasn't hungry. And the doctor was right. I wasn't hungry, but I felt this desire to eat. And I sat there and I thought, why do I want to eat right now? I was 60 years old, Florence. I had never, ever asked myself that question. Why do I want to eat right now? And as I sat there with that question, just sitting with the question, this is what bubbled up. It was the 1990s. I was at home. I grew up in Texas, in Marshall, Texas, and we were on my uncle's farm, and we were having a cookout barbecue, and we were having watermelon, and black folk watermelon. What you gonna do? That's what we were having. And I asked my uncle if he wanted some watermelon. He said, no, I don't eat watermelon. And I heard him then, but I didn't know what I was hearing. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't eat it? Do you not like it? Do you not want it? Why don't you eat it? He's like, I just don't eat it. So I continued to pester him. And he finally told me that when he was a boy, a little kid, he actually did like watermelon, but he and some buddies stole a watermelon from a neighbor's yard. And my grandfather, who was his father, found out about it. My grandfather was not happy. Two things about my grandfather: my grandfather was a church trustee, and my grandfather was a railroad worker. And the two people, the one person that a little guy that just stole a watermelon doesn't want to meet is that guy. When my grandfather found out about it, he beat my uncle. He beat my uncle so severely in 1930s Marshall, Texas, that in 1990, he does not want anything to do with watermelon. So as I'm sitting there with this question, why do I want to eat right now? That story came into my consciousness. So I asked my uncle, well, Billy, even then I had the question, but I didn't understand what it meant. I was like, Billy, do you think maybe the lesson was supposed to be thou shalt not steal? Do you think that maybe what the lesson was supposed to be? And my uncle just looked at me and said, I don't eat watermelon. And that was the end of the story for him. So now, fast forward 2019, that story bubbles up in my consciousness. And I think, oh my God, this is it. This is the missing link. This is what this is what decades of therapy and counseling did not connect for me. My uncle did not eat that watermelon because of the trauma, because of the experience, because of the memory, because of the history, because of the association that he made in his mind to that food, because of the feelings that it evoked, because of the emotions that he evoked, because of the emotions that he connected to the watermelon. He could not eat that food because he had them conflated. And as I sat there with this deep understanding, I was like, oh my God, that is the same thing for me when it comes to all this other stuff that I overeat. It is because I want to experience the pleasure, not necessarily the food, but what the pleasure of what that food represents. I want that feeling. And I don't know how to get that feeling without eating the food. And it's as I said, it was like my life changed in a moment, Florence. I went to the dictionary. I looked up the definition of food. 60 years old. I've been eating for 60 years. I had never looked up the definition of food. And there it was in Google. Food, nutrition, nourishment, energy. That is all it is. It is just fuel. And when I coupled that definition with the understanding from my uncle's food story, and that's what these are called, these food stories, these beliefs around food that are deep rooted, right, that come from some experience, come from some memory. We all have them about every single thing that we eat, but we don't always realize how these food stories are driving our behavior. When I couple this food story understanding with the definition, I got instant clarity that changed my life. I think of my life as before the watermelon story and after the watermelon story. And when we have that kind of clarity in the face of all the messaging that comes at us that tell us to eat for pleasure, right? To eat because it's sweet, eat because it tastes good, eat because it's status, eat because it's an activity, eat because everybody else is eating, eat for all these reasons that have nothing to do with nutrition, nothing to do with nourishment, nothing to do with energy, but everything to do with the profit of the companies that want us to eat the food. That story keeps me on path.
Amazing. So tell me more about that because I can feel and I hear you and I believe you that there was a transformation that that watermelon story told you that you could uncouple your association of these foods that were harming you, that were making you hang on to weight and whatever else, and maybe not feel well or not be healthy. So you were uncoupling the pleasure from them. But how
Mm-hmm.
did you actually do that?
Okay, so all right, so the way that you do that here's the thing, Florence. Here's like the big hoax, right? Here's the big hoax. that that exist in the weight loss industry is that they keep people that are struggling with this focused on behavior. How much can I eat? What can I eat? How much do I need to work out? What surgery do I need to have? What pills do I need to take? What what thing do I need to do? The behavior. And there's even something called behavior modification, right? Then I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, but that behavior modification. Well, before you can modify your behavior, you got to modify your beliefs. You got to modify your thinking. You have to you our bodies follow our brain. So we have to change our thinking first, which is why I said, we gain the weight, we gain everything in our thoughts before it manifests in our body. Then our focus needs to be on what we're thinking, what we're believing, and changing those stories, getting to the root. And when you focus 100% on your brain, then your body has to follow. Then there's no fight. Then there's no struggle. Then there's no battle. Your brain is saying, "This is what I do." Your body says, "Okay, here I gotta go. I'm coming with you." But it takes practice because we live in a culture, we live in an environment that is focused on behavior. So it is revolutionary to make a shift that says, I am going to focus on my thinking. And the way that we do it, we do that with four things. This is what I teach, these four things, to lean into these four things: affirmations, meditation, visualization, and prescriptive writing. And when I mean prescriptive writing, I'm talking about writing for healing, which is different. It's just not a food log. It's not journaling. Journaling, this is what happened. This prescriptive writing is particular prompts around who, what, where, when, what, if, how, all that. They kind of get into the nitty gritty of the emotion so that you can heal what you don't know about it and how you react to it. And you do that every day over time. You do that every day over time in community with a partner, and you start to rewire your brain and your thoughts around a particular emotion. So what I do, I mean, it's not it's it it's simple, but it's different than what we're taught generally. So people will say to me when I'm coaching them, they'll say, I'm an emotional eater. Okay. I eat when I'm stressed. I eat when I'm lonely. I eat when I'm bored. Those are the top three that I get: when I'm bored, when I'm lonely, when I'm stressed. Well, there are thousands of emotions that drive our behavior. Thousands, thousands. And if the only ones that we know how to address are stress, loneliness, and boredom, then I understand what's going on. So what I do in my program is every week we take a different emotion. 52 different emotions. Every week, you unpack with a partner with a writing prompt every day around situations with a specific emotion, 52 of them. So, what happens at the end of a year, you have unpacked in your mind very clearly any sort of thoughts, any sort of misbeliefs, misconceptions that you have around an emotion that you don't know how to manage, handle, recognize, and navigate, that's leading you to food, because we have been told that food solves everything. That food solves everything but hunger, right? So once you are doing that every day, because we're assaulted every day. We get misinformation every day. We're in toxic situations every day. We're in places that are dark for us every day. So we need to have the truth in different tactics and different strategies poured into us every day to move that stuff out of the way. And we need to do that in a safe place, right? In a safe, supported place that says, give yourself some grace. Keep there's relapse is expected. That's part of learning, right? It's part of learning. It's no shame. There's no shame in not knowing this is not your fault. It's been heaped on you, but you can't. It is a skill. What we do with food is a skill. It is management. It is mastery. It is not a relationship. Food can't have a relationship with us, so we can't have a relationship with it. But that is pushed on us. My relationship with food, my relationship with food. And as long as we think that we can have one, we're always going to be in this place of disempowerment.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate with this. But
Okay.
Michelle, food does bring me pleasure. It's not just a belief. It really does. It brings me a feeling of relief and comfort. It biochemically changes my state. Like it's not what you're saying isn't true. It's not a belief, it's a reality.
Okay. All right. So thank you. Thank you for that. That's really important because here's the thing. The very first principle in my program, which is brand new, is believe and begin. So the first thing we have to understand is whatever we come to this world believing nothing. We come into this world knowing nothing. So everything you experience is something that you have been taught. Like it's something that you have been taught. And whatever it is, especially if it's not rooted in the truth, can be shifted. So I want to go back to food. I want to go back to what you just said and have you look at it, think about it this particular way. Is that we have been taught that certain foods are triggers, that certain places are triggers, that certain things are triggers, that certain situations are triggers. And I will submit to you that that people, places, things, and situations are not triggers. It is our thoughts about the thing that is the trigger. And if we lean into the notion that is our thought about the thing that is the trigger, then the work becomes how do I change my thoughts? And that is where our power is. Because when we think it's the thing, then we are giving up our power in any particular situation. And we always have power in a particular situation if we know how to if we know how to tap into it. So the one I'll give you this example. I was talking to a client, and she said to me, "Oh, but I just, I love having wine on the weekends with my friends. I love that." Okay. My question is it possible? Is it possible for you to love something else? Is it possible for you to love something else? Is it possible for you to love how you feel when you don't do that? Is it possible for you to love the notion that your body will not be crippled from the disease that happens when you drink wine every weekend? Is it possible for you to love the freedom that comes when you're not tethered to that? Can you imagine loving something? Can you imagine loving what your body will feel like, how you're going to live, how you're going to feel, how you're going to show up when that is no longer a burden for you? So when we start to think about the when we start to think about the fact that food is just a tool, it is not the end game. When we start thinking about our end game, really, how do I want to live? How do I want to feel? How do I want to look? How do I want to show up? What is my purpose? And will eating this, will consuming this, will doing this give me the thing that I ultimately want to do? Will it give it to me, or will it prevent me from having it ultimately? And so it is a complete shift in focus. It is learning how to focus on that.
And what if the answer is yes?
Yes, what?
Yes, it will bring me to the life I want. Yes, it's alignment. So let's say this woman said, actually, yeah, I think a glass or wine or two on the weekend with my friends is is aligned with the life I want to live. I love and cherish that time. I love the biochemical impact of wine on my system. It's good and I love it. What if she said
Okay.
that?
Okay. So my question becomes why? My question becomes why? Because when we recognize that what we consume, what we consume is is based on what the manufacturers of it want us to consume. We live, Florence, we live in a culture that has convinced us through messaging and marketing and advertising to pay money to enjoy and drink and eat stuff that is ultimately detrimental to our health. We have, our brains have been hijacked by this messaging that says that that's okay, that you do love it, that you love something that is going to ultimately send your health into decline, to keep us focused on the current moment, not the future impact. And they do it, I won't say they do it with food specifically. I mean, food exclusively, but I feel like they do it with food more than they do it with other things. Because this is the example I want to say. I don't have children, but for people that have children, if your child came to you and said, you know, mama, daddy, I don't want to go to school. I like playing. I like playing. Playing feels good to me. That's what I want to do. I don't want to go to school, right? And the parents are going to say you must go to school. I don't care if you want to play, because going to school will ultimately serve your interest and your life in the long term. So as a parent, I am going to direct you in the right place to go, because just leaning into your impulse of wanting to play right now all the time is not a good thing. It is the same thing with food. When we're just focused on what it gives us, the taste of it right now in the moment, and we're not focused on the long-term impact and effect, it 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 is the same thing as being able to shift and understand, if this going to is what is this going to do for me? Because the reality is everything that we put in our mouth will either heal us or hurt us. It will cure us or it will kill us. Ultimately, there is nothing neutral, and we have to decide. Okay, you can opt you can opt for the immediate pleasure for what you feel right now, but understand that there are going to be some consequences that you have to pay down the line. And you start thinking about those consequences. You start thinking about the cost of healthcare. You start thinking about someone having to take care of you. You start thinking about maybe you're going to live a little bit longer, but your quality of life is not going to be what you want it to be. You start thinking about the impact of that one drink, those two drinks right now, and what it's going to mean 50 years from now. Is it worth it? Is it worth it for your children to have to put you in a wheelchair and take you to the doctor because you can't do it for yourself? Is it worth it for you to have a medicine cabinet full of medicine and pills that you have to take because this stuff has impacted your system in ways in the future that you can't anticipate right now? You decide, because it's coming. So that's my answer.
Okay. And what about if someone was to push back? Because I think this is what the voice in our head says. It minimizes it. I have this voice in my head that would say, "Oh, come on, Michelle, take a chill pill, honey. It's just a glass of wine on the weekend or two, right? The value I get from it, the relaxation, the social connection, the pleasure, the phytonutrients, the resveratrol, whatever, right? All the different ways that we can justify something like a glass of wine. It's really not that big a deal. And I don't believe you that I'm going to pay some catastrophic consequence down the road. I think my life will be more impoverished down the road if I don't have a little bit of pleasure as I go along within reason every now and then. Like, why does it have to be all black and white? What would
Yeah.
you say to that?
All right. So I have two things that I say to that. Is that they design the manufacturers design it to be addictive. So you may say, I'm just going to have a glass of wine. You may say,
I'll just
it's
have a
just
little
on the weekend.
cookie. I'll just have one
I'm just
slice of cake.
I'm right. It's just a little bit. It doesn't matter. And so here's the bigger question, is that why why are you willing to compromise? Why are you willing to compromise in this area specifically? And here's what I mean by that. I hear this language all the time. Oh, I follow this program, and it allows me to have a cheat day, right? And I'm thinking, all right, cheat day. So who are you cheating? Let's just start with that. But the second of all, where else is cheating okay? So do you cheat on your taxes? Or if you are you in a relationship with somebody, is it okay for them to cheat on you or you cheat on them? Or you a person that says, all right, I am a truthful person. I'm a truthful person. I tell the truth Monday through Friday, but on Saturday and Sunday, I just lie. I lie. I can lie. Right? That my cheat weekend. So it is about alignment. It is about who you are. It is about living in integrity. It is about making a decision to protect your life. I mean, this really isn't about whether or not I'm going to have the glass of wine or I'm going to have the cookie, or it is not about that. This is about your life. What is your life? What is your life worth? That's what it's about. And and the, and and it's also about that the being manipulated into thinking that you can compromise on it, right? And I'm not saying that there are going to be slips, there are going to be times when things are going to happen, but I am talking about having a bigger vision of your purpose and who you are and what it means to protect yourself all of the time, to stand in that, to be defiant about that, to be willing to say that yes, this is important. I am drawing the line in the sand about my life. That that's what I say to that.
Okay. And so what I'm getting from this is that I might have a belief that it's no big deal to have a little bit of wine and to have a few cookies and to not be black and white about my food. And I have a belief that makes my behavior match. And what you're
Mm-hmm.
suggesting is, Florence, your belief will shape your behavior. And because I believe it's no big deal to have some wine on the weekend and to have some sugar and ultra processed foods and whatever sometimes, my behavior will match it. And what you're saying is, if I want my behavior to change, I better look at that belief and really make sure that that's the belief I want to believe because my behavior is going to match.
Yes.
What you're suggesting is, Florence, but let's look at it this way. What about this belief? The belief is that these behaviors that are compromising, that are out of alignment with my biggest vision for my life, is what about if you believed that, Florence? Then what would happen? Then what you're saying, then my behavior would naturally change because my body wants to be in alignment with what my mind is focusing on, what it's believing, what its vision is. But but I Right. Okay. And then I'm just going to answer my own question. I was like, but, what if this belief feels true? But what you're saying is, honey, that's why we need the four things. We need to work with it every day to keep working on this belief that keeps you in the food, that keeps you in self-harming behaviors because that all feels harmonious because the behavior matches the belief. So let's upgrade our beliefs and then do it every damn day so that the new elevated belief makes the behavior changes happen. Have
Yes.
I got that correct? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Okay, now tell us a little bit about you make a distinction between unhealthy foods, dangerous foods, and poisonous foods. Is that correct? You want to talk a bit more about that?
Yes, 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 yes. So I am so intrigued by language and what words mean and how words land, right? And so I hear so often, I know this is good for me. I know it's not that healthy, but I'm going to eat it anyway, right? And
Yep.
yeah, people say it all the time. And 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 unhealthy has this kind of benign aura about it.
Yeah.
But if we look at what does unhealthy mean, and it fundamentally means it is not good for you, that it does not promote good health, right. um but if you look at it and you say, okay, it's unhealthy, if it's unhealthy, that means it is going to harm me. And if it harms me, then that means that it's dangerous. And if it's dangerous, then it is poisonous. And if we start, we can say, oh, this is not that healthy, I'm going to eat it anyway. I know it's not healthy. But if we start substituting language, oh, this is dangerous, I'm going to eat it anyway, that that's a big red stop sign. It makes you stop and pause. And why would I do something like that? Oh, this is poisonous. Nobody's going to eat or consume anything that they believe is poisonous. You're not going to do. Oh, this is poison. This is poison.
Yeah.
Not going to do it.
Yeah.
And so when you realize that they are all the same thing, they are, they are, and you start using the language that's reflective of it, it can help accelerate the change in the belief system.
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
the
Right.
it's the words. It's the words that we use have so much power.
Right. And they reflect the belief. Like if your belief is, oh, this is, it's not healthy, it's not a superfood, but it's not so bad. Very different belief. But if you believe something's poisonous, you're right, you're not going to eat it. But if you also believe that it's unsafe not to eat it, which is a really big piece of the food stories that many of us have,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that it's unsafe not to eat this because I don't think I can survive this moment. I don't think I'll have the energy I need to continue to be in a fight or flight state, which feels like survival because I'm responding to a threat. So I don't know if you want to speak to that at all.
So, I do. I do. In my coaching program, um, there is a a tenet, and it is the E in brand new, which I call evaluate, ask, and think. It's eat, right? Yeah. Evaluate, ask, and think. And that piece of it is something that I do myself every day. So I'm not teaching or talking about anything that I don't do myself every day. And it's so important, and it gives us an opportunity to make a decision before everything we eat. And it is the power of questions. And I read somewhere, I heard somebody, I went someplace, and they said it, when you elevate the questions that you ask, then you elevate your life, right? You can. And so, but Florence, before everything I eat, I ask a couple of questions. The first thing I ask, is it safe? Is it safe? How do I know it's safe? Do I trust it? Is it really food? Is this really food? And knowing the definition of food, if it's something that's nourishing and nutritious. If it's not nourishing, nutritious, then it's not food. It's a lab experiment. It's just something somebody made, right? That they're passing off as food. Am I hungry right now? Because there are those 52 emotions show up in our bodies. Sometimes they show up in our stomach, and we have been conditioned to believe that everything that shows up in our stomach is hunger, and it is not. So I'm asking, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Am I frustrated? What did I just read? What did I just hear? Who did I just talk to? What did I just see? What just happened that makes me want to eat something right now? And why this particular food right now? Why this right now? Is it because it's free? Because it's just sitting here right now? Right? Because if it's free, I don't want to pass up a good deal. I feel like I'm entitled. Nobody talks about eating out of entitlement. All these things are swirling around. So I just went through all these questions. After you practice this, you can go through all those questions in about 3 seconds. And that's all you need to make a different decision, to decide if what you're about to do honors your life, if it honors your body, if it honors your alignment, where you want to be, if it honors your purpose. So the questions, that the ability to do that, to stop and take that pause, becomes so critical. And I went off saying all that, and I don't know if I answered your question. That I don't know if I answered your question or not. I feel like I didn't, but I was going somewhere. I was going somewhere with it, and I forgot.
You know what? I don't even remember the original question either, but I loved where you went because that does it adds another layer that first you work on your beliefs. What do you your behavior has attached beliefs. So if you're frustrated with behavior, look at your beliefs. What are you believing? That's the first step that you've got us to understand. And the second piece you've just added is now slow it down and make sure that the food that you're putting in your body honors your body, is truly food, truly nourishing. And are you really hungry, or is there something else going on? If the answer is no, I'm not really hungry, bingo, great. Now we've got to look at these emotions. So, can you help us with that piece of the equation?
Sure,
Got
sure.
us this far because when I've been really distressed in the past and I have turned to food, Michelle, it has been so helpful. I tell a story of a time I called it my peanut picnic, and it was years ago, not that long ago, like 4 or 5 years ago-ish. I don't remember why I was so triggered, but I was deeply emotionally, like just, I couldn't hold it. I was at the edge of my capacity to stay present with it. I was at my threshold. And I didn't know what more to do with it. And I kept thinking about, I want to eat, I want to eat. And I kept saying, no, I kept doing what you were doing, like, no, we're good. That's, using all my tools. And it was bigger than my capacity to hold it and be with it and process it and tolerate it. It was really unpleasant. And finally, I just said, fuck it. I'm going to go get some peanuts. So I went and I got these roasted peanuts and I took my bag and I walked into the woods and there was this meadow and the sun was down. I was completely alone. It was truly in the woods. There were deers and moose and I didn't see them, but I knew they were there. And I sat down and I opened my little bag of peanuts and I cracked them open and I just slowly ate them. And my entire body settled into peace. And I just felt for a moment like everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And I mean, it was just roasted peanuts. It wasn't like it was sugar, but even if it had been sugar, the
Right.
point is that in that moment, I knew it was emotional, but I couldn't hold it. So I don't know if, and we all face those moments. So what do we
Yes.
do in those moments?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that is such a beautiful, sweet story, and I'm glad I'm glad you shared it. So here's what I want to kind of like talk about how it shows up and how you handle it and what it means. Um, I'm going to tell this story, and then I want to come back to your peanut story, and I want to talk about how cravings can be a good thing and teach us some things about ourselves and take us to some healing when we don't give in to them. Right. So a while back, I was at the post office. I was at the post office. Somebody had ordered my book. I was super happy. I was standing in line. I was about to mail off my book. Great day, right? And while I'm in the post office, a fight erupts at the post office between the person standing in line and the post office person. They get in not a physical fight, but a heated argument. They're going at it, and they go at it for a while. Then they figured out, calm down. I mail off my book. When I walk out of the post office, I think to myself, I'm gonna go get something to eat. Because I have my tools of my questioning, I'm like, I wasn't hungry before I walked into the post office. Why do I want to eat right now? And so as I stood there, what I realized was that fight in the post office upset me. And as soon as I just said that fight upset me, the desire to eat went away. But prior to that moment, if you had asked me, Michelle, if you went into the post office and you saw some people, you saw a fight or anything like that, would that bother you? I would have said no. But being able to have that moment, what I learned about a sensitive side of my nature that I didn't know existed because I wasn't willing to just give in to the desire to eat. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
And so when we when we do that, when we're willing to sit with the question, when we're willing to sit with the discomfort of the moment and think about in your situation, peanuts. I would say think about peanuts. Who do you remember the do you remember the first time you had peanuts? Who gave them to you? What do you associate peanuts with? What what do the right? What's the association? What's the representation? When you thought about the peanuts, what else did you think about? And why are they significant? To go back and do that, because whatever 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 feeling you got from the going to purchase them, the whatever the peanuts felt like in your hand, the bag, what you know so you tell the peanut story. I can relate. I can relate because my favorite aunt used to come visit, when I was living in Marshall, Texas. She lived in California, so she was a big glamorous aunt, right? So she was a big glamorous aunt. And back in the day when she would fly, they would give you little bags of peanuts on the plane. She knew I liked peanuts, so whenever she came to visit, she would not eat. She would take the peanuts that they gave her on the plane, and she wouldn't eat them, but she would always bring them to me. So that represented something really, really special. The fact that she would show up and save her bag of peanuts. They were planters, the little blue ones, right? So, right, a whole different thing. So when I think about them, that takes me to that. But here's the thing: I don't have to eat the peanuts to get the joy and to feel the joy and the love of her giving me that bag. In the old days, I might have. But now I see her. I see her very clearly. I see the bag very clearly. I see her coming into the house after getting off the plane with the luggage and her giving me the bag. I still have that same feeling. I don't ever have to eat another peanut again for me to be able to tap into that feeling. Does
Hmm.
that
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Right. And what if you can't? What if in that moment I couldn't access
it's
that
it's
feeling of safety?
it it it's okay. It's okay because it's new.
Yeah.
Because you're practicing this process. You don't know, but you don't not do it. And because what's going to happen as you think about it, as you practice it, something else is going to happen, and you are going to be able to access it.
Hmm.
This is a skill. This isn't you just wake up and, oh, I know how to do it, right? But the more you lean into this as a tool, as you more you lean into this as a strategy, it's something that you can learn how to do. The more it becomes something that you can become empowered around. So it's okay if you don't do it right in the moment, but it's even in the moment if you are aware that, because whatever feeling you had, Florence, that took you there, it's coming again. It is everything that happens. It's not isolated. So there's going to be another opportunity for you to practice. There always is. And so you just start doing it. I know I could. There's an opportunity for me to do something a little different this time. So maybe the next time you don't eat the whole bag. Maybe you don't have to have the whole bag, right? Maybe just a few will do,
Right.
right? So you
Yeah.
just you it's
Yeah.
it's all it's all process.
Right. And that resonates with me because I feel, and I didn't eat the whole bag, but I ate them very slowly and I was very present and I had the sun on my body. It was a beautiful summer day and I felt really safe and held by, the pleasure of the peanuts, the roasted peanuts, and the whole experience, and my whole body settled. And it's like it bought me some time to be able
Mm-hmm,
to come back to the present moment a bit resourced, right? And you're right, like it didn't need them. It didn't have to be a binge, and it wasn't a binge.
mm-hmm,
But it was a using of food to give me a feeling
mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm,
of course we can access. Eventually we can pull the peanuts out. But
mm-hmm.
in the early days, we might need a few peanuts. Well, we learned what it feels like to be safe and to be present and to be held and to be calm and to feel relief and to feel like, okay, I can get through this, right? And then we can
Yes,
access we get better at accessing those emotions,
yes,
pull the food out.
yes. That's
Yeah.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for that. Is there anything more you would like to share in terms of like we've got these three big pieces? Is there anything else in the mix that we should
Yeah,
talk?
yeah, as we were talking, I talked about that principle of eat, right? Evaluate, ask, and think. If I can just take a moment and go through the whole process, because
Yeah.
the first is beginning to believe, right? So we have to have that start. We have to have the starting point. We have to believe that it's possible. We have to even believe that we deserve the possibility,
Yes.
because but for some of us, we've been unhealthy for so long, we don't even know what it feels like. We've never even seen it. So
Yes.
we have to have a vision. We have to have a picture. We have to be able to begin to believe that it's possible for us and we deserve it. So we spend some time on just that piece of it. The second is the R in brand new, which is rise up and reinvent. And that is recognizing what these old stories are, what these old limiting beliefs are. And when you name them, put it, call them out. And then once you call them out and name them, then you start to rewrite them and rise up above them. That's the journey. That's the work to rise up and reinvent. Then the third is alignment and accountability. And we talked a little bit about alignment earlier, right? This is who I am. I am not a person who does this, whether it's Monday through Friday or whether it's the weekend or whether it's the holiday. This is who I am. Alignment and accountability, and you learn that often in partnership, right? When you have somebody that's walking down the same road, right? That's alignment and accountability. The next is nutrition and nourishment, and that isn't some sort of food plan, eat this, not that, but what it is understanding the truth about what it is that we put in our mouth, because the food manufacturers are not going to tell us the truth about what's actually in it. They're only going to tell us what they want us to know in order to sell it. So we've got to look beyond the labels. We've got to look beyond that. So that work around what is actually nutritious and nourishing. Then it's D, right? The D in brand new is DSW, and I'm not talking about shoes. I'm talking about drinking. I'm talking about drink, sleep, and right. So we have to understand the importance of hydration, because so many times we get confused. We confuse hunger with thirst, right? We confuse hunger with thirst, and not just we think that what we need to drink is some juice, when what our body just needs water, right? Then sleep. We don't understand that if you're dealing with food addiction, if you're dealing with obesity, that is a disease. And the way that we support healing from disease is with rest, is with sleep. It allows us to process impulse control. It allows us to repair, right, and get stronger in our sleep. We're walking around sleep deprived. That's why we're making poor decisions. That's not the only reason, but it contributes to it. So sleep is critical, right, for us to process these toxins out of our body. And then the writing. The writing, along with the visualization, the affirmation, the meditation, that is how we start to rewire our brains. That's why the self-discipline, the self-control, the willpower, all that doesn't work. It is when we start to create new neural pathways for the things that we want to do, and we do that by pouring new stuff into our brain. And that writing is so, so key for that. Then no is the new yes. We have to understand what it is that we want to say yes to, so that when we say no, we can stand in it. We're not afraid to say no. And I can't tell you how many people I work with that, well, what if I say no and people don't like it? Right? How do I say no without hurting people's feelings? It's like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I'm like, well, what it is, why do you care more about hurting somebody's feelings rather than protecting your own life? Because that's really what the question is. That's really the thing. I will hurt your feelings if it will save my life all day long. But that's what are you saying no to? What are you saying yes to? And then we talked about the evaluate, ask, and think, the eat. And then finally is the W, which is, I say, wow, I'm worth it. Because if you've done all that other stuff, you need to step back and celebrate. You need to honor the fact that you are worth this work. Pour into it. It is so easy for people to say, oh man, I only lost 1 pound. Right? I hear that. Oh, I only lost 1 pound. I'm like, are you kidding me? Let's celebrate that one because in order to get to 52, you have got to love on the one. Right? We are tricked into thinking that, oh, you need to lose 5 pounds a week. You need 1 pound is not enough. Well, we don't gain weight a pound at a time. We don't gain it 5 pounds at a time. We gain it ounces at a time. That's how sometimes we look in the mirror and we don't even recognize ourselves because it happens so slowly. So we have to love on these slow moments of revelation, these slow, these epiphanies that we have that might not have any, that might not even show up on the scale. We have to celebrate that. These mental shifts, this awareness, that stuff. We celebrate all of that because the feelings that that produces is what takes us to the next level. And then when you go through all of that, those steps of transformation, then you start all over again. Because when you start all over at the B again, you are now starting over at a higher level. And so you just keep circling through these principles of being brand new.
Oh, I love it. That's so amazing. I love it. I love how it's so prescriptive and it walks you through the journey of it so that you can become brand new over and over and over. You just keep
Yes,
loving.
yes. And it is a journey. And here's the thing, Florence, is that once you realize that this journey is designed for your healing and for your peace and for your freedom and for your joy and for your confidence, that you will get all of this as you discover parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed because it's been obscured by the food. Then you lean into the journey and it becomes fun. It's not something that you're afraid of at the very beginning, because it is so new, because it is so different, because you don't know what to expect. People don't want to take it. They're afraid. they're
Mhm.
they're afraid. But once you start doing the work and just discovering the light that's inside, right, the light that we all are, that you are, it just becomes so wonderful and so beautiful and so easy.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I feel that. And I think that one of the other fears people have is that they're going to be asked to put the food down and to let go of food before they're ready. And I don't know if you would like to speak to that. Some people rip the band-aid off. They're really great, cold turkey. And others are like, oh, I just need to, I'm not ready to let go of my peanuts or cookie or whatever it is. I don't know if you could speak to different ways
Yeah.
that people might be ready to sort of let the food go.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, here's what I'll say. I will say that it is different for everybody. It is different for everybody. But at, as you lean as you lean into the questions, as you lean into the information, as you lean into who you really want, you won't let it go. You will just release it. You will just no longer have desire for it. And here's what I mean. I just want to share this really quick story. I don't know how much time we have, but I want to
We're
just tell you
doing
this really.
great. We're doing great.
Okay, I want to tell you this really quick story of of how it works. So a while back, I dated a guy that was much younger than I was, right? And I was like, all kind of like, oh, look at him. And he was like super handsome, right? He's like, I'm a cougar, right? And so we dated for about 2 days, Florence. And what I realized is that I dated him because he was handsome. That was my only criteria. He's cute. He's cute and he's handsome. And as I started to spend time with him, as I started to see who he really was, as I started to see his values and his character, I didn't feel right being with him, being around him. I didn't even want to be around him. As I started to see who he really was, his personality, he started to be less handsome, right? He started to be that I didn't even want him in my life. And so it wasn't hard to end things with him because I saw him for who he was, other than this handsome guy in a suit, right? It is the same thing with food. We are conditioned, we are marketed to, we are advertised to, we are taught to make decisions about what we eat on appearance, taste, smell, and pleasure. None of those four things have anything to do with nourishment and nutrition. Nothing. Nothing. What's it look like? What's it smell like? What's it taste? what it tastes like. That is all superficial. And so once we start to pull the covers back and say, oh, this looks good, but it attacks my nervous system. Oh, this may taste good, but it impairs every system in my body. Oh, this looks good, but it leads to blindness. Oh, this looks good. This I eat too much of this, they will cut off my foot. When you start seeing the truth, oh, this looks good, it causes cancer, right?
Right.
When, so as you start to see the truth about what's what they actually want us to put in your body, then you release it. You release it because you have a different vision for yourself. The vision that you have for yourself is not in alignment. So you're not letting go of the poison. What you're doing is you're grabbing hold of the life that you want to have. That's the shift. It's not what I'm letting go. What am I grabbing hold of?
Right. And then the food can sort of work itself out. And I think the exact opposite. I mean, just from my own dating experience, I've dated men that were really gorgeous, handsome, took my breath away. And for whatever reason, it wasn't a fit. And I've dated men who I wasn't attracted to, but the more I fell in love with them, the more beautiful they were. It's kind of like broccoli
Yes,
seems boring and tasteless and ick. Who wants to eat broccoli when we can eat like whatever? And but broccoli's gorgeous, the vibrant green, and you fall in love with Whole Foods, but you don't think you'll fall in love with Whole Foods because we've been so bamboozled and blasted by the intensity of, the fat, sugar, salt combos.
yes, yes. That is so true. That is so true. And I sit here and I tell you, if you had told me like 8 years ago, Michelle, you would rather have beets than bread pudding, I would be, you have lost your mind. What are you crazy?
Never gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Mm, absolutely. I know. And after in the beginning, sometimes we want to make our recipes kind of fancy of seasonings, and eventually you just get to a chicken breast, plain, nothing on it, not even salt and pepper. Lovely. Like
Yes,
it's
yes.
truly you can fall in love with those. There's one question that I wanted to ask you. What are the emotions related to eating that no one ever talks about?
Yeah, yeah. So, one of them, there are quite a few, but no one ever talks about eating out of curiosity, right? They don't. And I, this is kind of the scenario that comes to my mind. I live in Maryland. I live in Annapolis, Maryland, and I walk every day. Well, almost every day. I walk a lot. And so I just want to kind of create that scenario. And I grew up in the 60s in the South, in the segregated South, um, with farmer grandparents, right? With farmer grandparents who wanted an elevated life for me. And what that elevated life looked like, this is what the white people do. Here's what the white people with one money do. You want to live, you want to be able to have access to that. So I want to kind of create this context. So I'm living here in Annapolis, Maryland. I'm walking every day. And I walked my first walk. I walked by this bakery coffee store, and it was a Saturday morning, and the white people were lined around the block. And I thought to myself, why are they lined around the block? What is it about this coffee shop in this bakery that has these people lined around the block? I wonder what it is. But I walk on past because I don't eat that, but I'm just like kind of curious, wonder what it is. And then I come back and the line is down a little bit. And I just kind of walk over and I look in the window and they have croissants and cookies and muffins and all that stuff. And I look at it and I say, they look like all this looks like every other croissant, cookie, and muffin I've ever seen. I wonder what's so special about it. And I just, in my mind, I said it probably just has more sugar. They just probably like it because it has more sugar. And I walk on, and I think about what my response to that situation would have been in years past. What pleasure are they having that I'm not privy to? What is it that the happy white people in Annapolis know about this bakery that I don't know? And I'm living here, I'm working, I can afford it. Let me check it out because clearly it must be good because there's a line wrapped around the block. What is it? So nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about when you're in a restaurant and you're waiting and a plate comes by and somebody goes, "Oh, wonder that looks good. What is that?" Eating out of curiosity. Nobody ever talks about eating out of jealousy and envy. Oh, yours looks better than mine. I should have gotten that. I'm gonna get that next time.
Right. It's almost like there's that sense of adventure, that novelty, that oh, wouldn't that be interesting? I haven't tried that.
Yes,
And there's also this FOMO piece built into that. Like I'm missing
yes,
out on an adventure.
yes,
A life
yes,
experience is passing
yes.
me by here.
Yes. And
Mm,
the neuros, Florence, and the neuroscientists and the marketers and the advertisers, they know that. And
right.
they take advantage of it and they use it and they use it against us.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talks about that.
Ah, Michelle, you know what? I have not had a chocolate bar. If I had to take a guess, I'm going to say 25 years. Decades. I have not eaten a chocolate bar. I have not eaten cereal. I have not been in the center aisles of grocery stores for decades. And I'm not saying I haven't slipped. I have gone into sugar and flour and I've been in the
Mhm,
ditch and I've
mhm,
had peanut picnics and I still from time to time have moments with food that are out of alignment. But
mhm,
I have not eaten cereals and I have not looked at chocolate bars in decades.
mhm.
And it's a bit of a shock for those of you who haven't are in the same boat as I am. Walk down the cereal aisle. It's exactly what you're talking about. They just do variations and different themes. And I used to love Aero bars. They now have
Mhm.
mint Aero bars, and then they have Aero bars with cookie creams. Like they just mix it up to just sort of give you that sense of, whoa, that's new, right? I see what you're saying. And if the
Yeah,
junk food manufacturing companies are onto this and they understand that, understanding that we're looking for that, how can we find it outside of the adventures with food? Like,
yeah,
how can we bring adventure into our lives in other ways so we're not doing it
yes,
with variations of arrow bars?
yes, yes. And that is important. That is important because we are tricked. We are tricked in believing that the only way that we can enjoy food is by eating it.
What? Yeah, I believe that. That's not true.
No, it's not.
Good
No,
morning.
you can enjoy food just by looking at it. I mean, I have been to weddings where the wedding cakes are beautiful, not edible. I'm not eating them, but I'm certain. But, right? But I'm certainly appreciating the artistry and the artwork. And first of all, it's not food. The wedding cakes is really not food. But you can look at a plate of all the colors, the green, the red, the yellow, and not be hungry and say that is a beautiful presentation. You don't have to eat it. You can because there's a difference between hunger and the desire to eat. We don't always know what it is, and the manufacturers don't always want us to know it. But you can say, "Oh my God, that looks good." And I have been at events. I've been at an event where a woman said that. She said, "Oh my goodness, that looks good. I'm not hungry. I already ate." And she was done with it. Oh, that looks good. I wish I was hungry, but I'm not. And she turned her head. She turned her head and looked at the program. And so you can say, "Oh my goodness, that smells good." I mean, I love the smell of bacon. I'm not saying that, but I have had people say that I love the smell of bacon, but I don't eat it.
Mhm.
Right? You think about going to the Mexican restaurants, the fajitas. right? I remember going to Mexican restaurants before fajitas were invented, right? And there was a time when they weren't invented. But the success of fajitas was built basically on the sound. Fell solely on the sound. Sizzling fajitas. Sizzle, they bring out the thing as sizzling and you get all excited. You might not order it, but they're coming. I hear the sizzle, right? So there are people, and I have heard people say, "Oh my goodness, I love the smell of coffee, but I don't like the taste of it," which I can't blame them because the only way you can drink it is to put sugar in it. I mean, can you? I mean, it's an entire industry that's built on something that's undrinkable unless you put something in it to make it drinkable, and something in it that's not even good for you. And it's
My husband would say that's sacrilegious. If anyone who puts sugar in coffee or cream or something in coffee is adulterating it. But I get your point. Yeah. Michelle, this has been amazing. I just looked at the clock and went, have we seriously been talking for an hour? I have no idea. That flew by the fastest I've ever. I'm riveted. Thank you so much for all of this wisdom, this heart, this soul, this passion, this living proof that, there's life after sugar and that it's a journey and that working with the beliefs and being able to tune and tap into the emotions and all the brand new tools that you talked about. Is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap up today?
I want anybody, Florence, that's watching to know that it's possible, to know whatever you've been through, first of all, it's not your fault. That piece. And to know that it's possible, that the time is now, it's never too late, and to never, never give up.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thanks everyone for tuning in today.
Thank you, Florence. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation.
Thanks for tuning in this week. If you would like more interviews, more information, and more inspiration on how to break up with sugar, go to my YouTube channel, Kick Sugar Coach, or my website, kicksugarcoach.com. See you next week.